Buenos días. Viva España. Ladies and gentlemen, patriots for Europe, we gather here today 8 months after the founding of the Patriots for Europe, not as an isolated movement, but as a new voice of European people. When Viktor Orban, Herbert Kickl, and I announced this group, the establishment in Brussels and the mainstream medias tried to isolate us. They ignore us. They cast us as radicals. They attempted to lock us away in political quarantine. They called cordon sanitaire. Yet despite their efforts, we are growing stronger. Herbert Kickl is set to become the Chancellor of Austria. Viktor Orban is President Trump's important ally in Europe. And Jordan Bardella and, of course, Marine Le Pen is the dominant force in France, Rassemblement National. The tide is turning. And is it not difficult to see why? The mainstream parties have betrayed their voters, their nations, and the very ideals of the European project. The Patriots for Europe were founded on 3 core principles: defending the sovereignty of European nation-state, stopping illegal migration, and overturning the Green Deal. For this, we were labeled extremists. But let me ask you, who are the real extremists? It is those who believe that nations, not unelected bureaucrats in Brussels, should decide their own future. Those of us who believe that borders matter, that we must secure our external frontiers, enforce our laws, and repatriate those who have no rights to be here. Those of us who believe that energy security and strong industrial base and economic freedom are the foundation of prosperity? Or is it those who surrender national sovereignty to EU technocrats? Those who fling open the gates to illegal migration, erase borders, and undermine the safety of their own citizens? Those who push policies that cripple European industry, dry up energy prices, and make our economies weak and dependent on foreign powers? It is time to look truth in the eye. The Green Deal is dead, not reformable, not improvable, dead. And yet in Brussels they pretend as if nothing has changed. Ursula von der Leyen, Olaf Scholz, and the entire EU leadership refuse to acknowledge reality. They continue pushing their Green Deal ideology, as if in European industry is not shutting down and moving overseas, as if millions of families are not struggling with energy poverty, as if Europe's economic power is not collapsing before our eyes. They ignore economics. They ignore physics, but most of all, they ignore the European people. They tell us Europe will be more competitive. Why they impose regulations that strangle businesses? They talk about the just transition, but their policies first destroy industries, then offer subsidies to fix the damage they caused. This reminds me of what Ronald Reagan once said. Government views of the economy could be summed up in a few short phrases. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. And this is a Brussels model. They create an energy crisis with then insane policies, then introduce subsidies to fix the disaster they caused. They make cars unaffordable. then propose subsidies for transport poverty. They suffocate businesses with regulation, then promise aid to the very industries they are killing. This is not the leadership, this is lunacy. The United States has already started an avalanche, and if Europe doesn't wake up, this avalanche buries us. President Donald Trump has restored sanity to America's energy policy, just as he has restored it in so many other fields, from immigration to economic policy. When it comes to energy, he understands what every rational person knows. You cannot subsidize your way to prosperity. Cheap, reliable energy is the foundation of economic growth. That is why the United States is returning to oil, gas, coal, and nuclear power. Thus, meanwhile, Brussels and Berlin are leading us down a road that ends in blackouts and economic collapses. Look at Germany, a warning to us all. They shut down their nuclear power plants. They banned coal. They got rid of natural gas. They bet everything on wind and solar. And what happened? During winter, when there is no sun and no wind, the entire system collapses. Now they are relying on dirty oil and coal plants and importing insanely expensive electricity just to keep the lights on. And now, in a perfect display of green fanatism, we are witnessing the next stage of this absurdity. Electricity destroyers. In the Czech Republic, investors are constructing these devices whose sole purpose is to waste excess electricity generated by renewables when supply exceeds demand, converting electricity into useless heat and dumping it in the atmosphere. This is a conclusion of Green Deal. We are being forced to subsidize energy production that we cannot even use. We are wasting perfectly good electricity while paying more for it than ever before, and also adding to global emissions. This is not a policy, this is idiocy. We warned them, I warned them, at the COP26 summit in Glasgow in November 2021. November 2021, I stood before world leaders and said this clearly. I warned them that the Green Deal would become a European green suicide. Here are my words. The Green Deal could come at huge social, economic, political, and geopolitical cost. Costs that could create enormous tensions in society and between allies, open doors to radicals, and threaten our democracy. The Green Deal could be responsible for the loss of competitiveness of the EU and impoverishment of families, rising unemployment, astronomical energy prices, the disintegration of industry, and in the end, the destruction of the environment it seeks to protect. The Green Deal simply wants too much, too soon, and at any cost. It was in November 2021. But I was ignored. No one listened. Now, 3 years later, everything I said is coming true. Energy prices have skyrocketed. European industry is crumbling. Households are struggling to pay their bills. And what is Brussels doing? Instead of admitting their failure, they come up with yet not another useless plan, they so-called EU Competitiveness Compass. Another grand initiative, another empty document that will never be implemented. This is no longer a debate about climate. This is a fight for survival, a fight for our energy security, our industry, our prosperity, a fight for Europe itself. This is the only way forward. Scrap the Green Deal, not revise it, not delay it, abolish it. The Green Deal must be destroyed entirely. The Green Deal must be destroyed entirely, permanently, and without compromise. The establishment in Brussels will not stop. They will not change course. They will push forward, no matter the cost. So it is up to us. This is our moment. We owe it to our parents who built this continent. We owe it to our children who deserve a future of prosperity, not poverty. We owe it to Europe itself, a Europe of sovereign nations, strong economies, and proud people. We will fight. We will not back down, and we will win. We will win. Thank you.